Welcome back to Brainy Bytes. Ready to absorb the knowledge that fuels top performers and makes you the sharpest mind in the room? They say the average CEO reads a book a week. Imagine having that power distilled for you. Stick with us for today's life-changing insights and hit subscribe and the bell so you never miss the wisdom to reach your peak potential. The laws of human nature. All 18 laws explained. Robert Greene. Summary. Why do people act in ways that seem irrational or self-defeating? How can you better understand hidden motives and navigate complex social situations? What if you could decode the operating system behind human behavior? Robert Greene, author of the 48 Laws of Power, takes on this monumental task in his masterwork, The Laws of Human Nature, revealing the timeless patterns that secretly drive us all. Introduction. Today we're diving deep into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature. This is a profound and dense exploration, synthesizing history, philosophy, and psychology to outline 18 fundamental laws that govern our behavior. Greene's goal is ambitious: to help us become calmer, more strategic observers of ourselves and others, detaching from emotional reactions and acting with more awareness. Because this book is so comprehensive, this will be a longer summary than usual, aiming to give you the core essence of all 18 laws. We won't go into extreme depth on each, but you'll get a solid overview of Greene's powerful framework for understanding the human animal. Let's begin the decoding process. The 18 laws of human nature. Explained briefly. 1. Master your emotional self. Irrationality. We're ruled by emotions more than reason. Recognize your triggers and biases to achieve clarity. Don't assume rationality in yourself or others. 2. Transform self-love into empathy. Narcissism. Everyone has narcissistic tendencies. Understand this self-absorption in others and yourself to connect effectively. Cultivate empathy by actively seeing from their perspective. 3. See through people's masks. Role-playing. People wear social masks. Learn to observe nonverbal cues and inconsistencies to perceive their true character and motives hiding beneath the performance.
Brainy Bytes.
Determine the strength of people's character. Compulsive behavior. Look past reputation. Observe deep-rooted patterns of behavior. Consistent, compulsive actions reveal true character under pressure. 5. Become an elusive object of desire. Covetousness. People desire what seems unavailable or mysterious. Cultivate a degree of distance and ambiguity to increase your perceived value and influence. 6. Elevate your perspective. Short-sightedness. Humans overreact to the present moment. Detach from immediate drama and cultivate a long-term, wider perspective to make wiser decisions. 7. Soften people's resistance by confirming their self-opinion. Defensiveness. People are defensive about their beliefs and autonomy. Confirm their positive self-image first to lower their guard before attempting to persuade or influence. 8. Change your circumstances by changing your attitude. Self-sabotage. Your attitude shapes your reality. Negative or fearful attitudes attract negative outcomes. Consciously adopt a more resilient, open, and positive attitude. 9. Confront your dark side. Repression. We all have a shadow self, repressed desires and traits. Acknowledge and integrate your dark side for greater authenticity and self-control. Ignoring it makes it erupt destructively. 10. Beware the fragile ego. Envy. Envy is powerful and often disguised. Recognize subtle signs of envy in others, backhanded compliments, excessive criticism, and be cautious. Direct confrontation often backfires. 11. Know your limits. Grandiosity. Success can breed irrational self-belief. Grandiosity. Stay grounded in reality, be aware of your limitations, and maintain a connection to practical details. 12th, reconnect to the masculine or feminine within you. Gender rigidity. We possess both masculine and feminine qualities. Rigidly adhering to gender stereotypes limits your potential. Accessing both energies enhances creativity and adaptability.
Brainy Bytes.
13. Advance with a sense of purpose. Aimlessness. A clear sense of purpose provides direction, resilience, and focus. Without it, you drift and react. Cultivate a guiding purpose based on your inclinations. 14. Resist the downward pull of the group. Conformity. Groups exert immense pressure to conform, often lowering intellectual and moral standards. Maintain your independence of mind and resist emotional contagion. 15. Make them want to follow you. Fickleness. People are fickle and easily bored. To lead or maintain influence, project authority, embody the group's ideals, and provide direction while managing their inherent restlessness. 16. See the hostility behind the friendly facade. Aggression. Human aggression is often hidden behind passive or friendly masks. Learn to recognize subtle signs of underlying hostility and protect yourself strategically. 17. Seize the historical moment. Generational myopia. Each generation has a unique spirit and set of values. Understand your generation's dynamics, but also connect with the timeless patterns of history to gain perspective and influence. 18. Meditate on our common mortality. Death denial. Awareness of mortality clarifies priorities and fosters empathy. Confronting the reality of death helps you live more urgently and connect with our shared human fate. Real-world application. Becoming wiser and more strategic. Whew, that's a lot to absorb. So, what are the overarching takeaways from all 18 laws? First, prioritize self-awareness. Understanding your own irrationality, shadow side, biases, and attitudes is fundamental. Second, become a keen observer. Learn to look past surfaces, read nonverbal cues, understand motivations, especially self-interest and envy, and recognize patterns in others. Third, cultivate rationality and long-term perspective. Actively counter emotional reactions and short-sighted thinking. Zoom out. Fourth, understand social and group dynamics. Recognize conformity pressures, leadership nuances, and hidden aggression. Navigate groups wisely. Fifth, practice. Empathy and strategic connection. Understanding others' self-absorption allows you to connect and influence more effectively by addressing their perspective. I hope this deeper dive into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature sparked some profound insights. If it did, please show some love by hitting like and subscribe to join our Brainy Bytes community for more comprehensive summaries. Want to help fuel future content like this? You can support the channel by buying me a coffee through the link below. It helps me dedicate more time to finding and summarizing these powerful books for you all. And speaking of the best books, what dense masterpiece should I tackle next? Let me know your suggestions in the comments. Your input drives the channel. Thanks for watching.